Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. I know I said we'd be getting back into what ifs yesterday, but I decided I wanted to do one more thing. I thought, why not do another fun video, and I decided why not do my 2022 edition of ranking my teams, ranking all of the teams just by how much I like them, one being my favorite, 32 being my least favorite. So to start it off at number 32, this is something I want to do yearly, just when players come and go, things change, just kind of how it works. At number 32, it wasn't really much thought. It was Boston. Boston, just from the past, has just been this villain. They have Marchand, one of my least favorite players. They had Lucic for a good portion of my life, and I hated him. Rask was, although he wasn't really a big part of it, my hate, I never liked him. And there were just pieces in there that just really made me angry, and I liked Bergeron was fine. Pastrnak I'm not a huge fan of, but just the team overall, the goaltending tandem they have now is pretty nice. I like them, but they're building their defense. You have McAvoy and Lindholm. I'm liking that better. Their offense is also getting better, but for now, just Boston, just that memory of my younger days and those Boston teams, and hatred is the only word that comes to mind. Also, the final in 2013. Number 31, I have Nashville. That stupid chant they do after every goal, and they haven't won nothing in this league. That is why I hate Nashville so much. At number 31, it wasn't really anything against the players, it was more the fan base. I hated the Boston fan base as well. I hated the Nashville fan base. Nashville just had that stupid chant when they hadn't won jack diddly squat, if I may so, without saying any without saying any higher tone words. And it was funny when Nashville would lose humiliatingly, and you never hear the Nashville fans chanting Rene or Saros, and I thought that was very ironic. At number 30, another divisional team, we have St. Louis. Blues and Blackhawks are always going to be a rivalry, and the Blues, at 2014 and 2016, those playoff battles, them beating the Hawks in 2016 really just made me angry, and Nashville in 2017 as well. But yeah, those are my bottom three. Those are the teams that I really hate. So yeah, when it was the Boston and St. Louis final, I wanted St. Louis to win. I wasn't happy about it. So 29, the New York Rangers. This is the only other building I've been to a game in besides the United Center in Madison Square Garden. The Rangers, it's nothing personal. It's just I love Panarin, Zibanejad, those kind of guys. Problem is, I like the Islanders. Of the two teams, I've always liked the Islanders more because of their colors, and the Rangers, that was just something that kind of like set them apart for me as a child. And that's just kind of how it worked. I know a lot of these are going to be silly reasons or like minimal reasons, but there's 32 teams, and you have to make something for everyone. At number 28, you have Toronto, and that's just because that's another one with the fan base. It's not so much the team. I really hate the fan base there. They've gone through a lot of pain, so it's understandable why they're miserable. But the amount of pressure the Toronto media and just Toronto in general puts on some of their players, and they lose year after year, which makes it even funnier. It makes me feel bad for this year. I felt bad for the team, did not feel bad for the fans. Now, number 27, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning, and this is one is out of respect. They win a lot. Tampa Bay has won a lot. Obviously, the Hawks beat them in 2015 in a pretty boring series, to be honest, in the final. But Tampa, just out of respect for them winning a lot, that's kind of it. 26 is another one that's both fan-based and team-based. Can't like a team that's called the Broad Street Bullies, even though they're not the Broad Street Bullies anymore. They're managed horribly. It might be the worst-run franchise in the league right now. And you also have, in the 2010 final, I really grew a hatred for guys like Pronger, even though I didn't know that he was a Hall of Famer. But that was a different time. But like even in 2010, I hated the Flyers in the final. I hated playing against them. I hated Jeff Carter and Mike Richards. I find that funny because I love Jeff Carter now. But the only person of that team I really liked was Giroux back then. And strangely enough, Matt Carl. That was another player I liked on that team. I don't know why, but I have several as hockey card, and I always remember them. But yeah, so number 25, we have Winnipeg. Yeah, it's another one of those fan base ones. I hate that. I remember they don't do it so much anymore, but every time I remember when there was goalies, they would try to like put a hex on them and like say like for Rolston, Brizgal. I remember those chants, and yeah, I never really liked that too much. I never really liked the crowd chanting stupid crap, and that's kind of what this team did. Philadelphia did it to Kane. That's another reason I hate it. What the Philadelphia fan base said to Kane after that 2016 bogus. He's accused of. I don't want a trigger word, but accused of not a very good thing, and it was completely false. But 24, we have San Jose. San Jose is purely just because of the way that San Jose was a team that before. Around the time when the Hawks were really good, San Jose was a team that bullied other teams. Like the Hawks were especially with my dad. My dad hated Joe Thornton, and I never really hated him, but like he would always try to start stuff. I remember him putting his finger in like Henrik Sedin's mouth, and that was really weird. So yeah, that's again as time goes on. I'm gonna more think about the players. I like Barabanov a lot in San Jose, and a lot of the contract stuff they do. Like this team is going nowhere. No matter what, if they think they're still competitive, it's not gonna work. So that's another reason I don't like them. And number 23, we have LA. Of course, my forever hatred of the Kings in 2014 lasts, as in 2014 Alec Martinez scores that goal. And my hatred of LA starts if the Hawks win that game in Game 7 overtime in 2014 conference final. I probably don't hate LA. LA's probably higher. I remember they were one of my favorite teams when I first started watching hockey because of their jerseys with the crown and the purple on the sides and black background. I really like those jerseys. I don't really like their jerseys now with the black ones. I could never like them compared to the ones that they had. And I do like the core they're building around. I do like Philip Deneau, but also there's 32 teams on this board, and I just like 22 of the teams better. And speaking of teams I like better, 22 Anaheim. I hated Getzlaf. I hated Perry, especially after that 2015 conference final. Pat Maroon was not on my good side. They had Nate Thompson during that series. I remember hating him. Jakob Silfverberg was one of the only players I liked during that run. But now they have Zegras. I love Zegras, and I really like what they're starting to turn around in Anaheim. So that's why they would. If it was a year ago, they probably would have been. LA would have probably been lower than San Jose, and Anaheim probably would have been lower than San Jose. San Jose would probably have been at the top of those, but San Jose screwed up so much that it's pissed me off. 21, we have Edmonton. The bubble series. I mean, McDavid's chill, Draisaitl's chill. Keith went there, and I was sad. That's part of it. But the Hawks beating Edmonton in the qualifying round when you play teams in playoff series, you're going to grow a certain hate for them. But when the Hawks played Edmonton, I never really had hate. I guess Josh Archibald. That's part of that's probably what drags it from about top 16 to 21 is Josh Archibald alone. He's no longer there, but the stunt he pulled and the stupid stuff he did when he was there really just got on the wrong side of me. Number 20, we have Pittsburgh. This is another one out of respect. They've been so good for so long. They've made the playoffs every year but one since I was born. That was 2005-06 because that was Crosby's rookie year. And even in school, like people would say "Crybaby Crosby" because people knew who Crosby was. And I remember that 2014 Stadium Series game that they played at Soldier Field. It was Taves versus Crosby, and Crosby was whining and stuff, and I never really bought on to that Crybaby Crosby stuff, but I know that was a very popular theme in Chicago, hoping that Chicago and Pittsburgh meet in the final, which we never got. We never got a Chicago-Pittsburgh final during during their golden age years. Now, number 19, we have Montreal. Montreal probably would have been lower if it wasn't for last season, but their run to the final really inspired me, I think. And they had Eric Stahl for that, which was cool. I really liked Tyler Toffoli when he was there, Philip Deneau, and then and I've always been a fan of Carey Price. And then they got suck, and then they took Slafkovsky, and we'll see how he does. I may or may not like him. Shane Wright's still going to be my guy for now, but until I see some other improvements. But Montreal's in a rebuild phase, and kind of how they just fell off completely was truly remarkable, and that's kind of, I guess, what made it both. They might have been higher if I did this halfway through the year, but then they completely fell off, and it kind of bounced out of my top 16. And number 18, as a Hawks fan, you cannot have the Detroit Red Wings in your top 16 favorite teams, and that's just because of the past. This is purely past. They haven't done anything since 2013, when the Hawks beat them in 7 after coming back from 3-1. But 2009 left a bad taste in my mouth, my first year watching hockey. As Detroit beating Chicago in 5, that really soured me, and that really sold me on the rivalry of Chicago and Detroit and the hatred of never being able to beat them. And in 2013, we finally beat them. But we really didn't, because they really didn't have many of their players. Lidstrom, Yzerman, Shanahan, all those guys were gone. Hawks really never beat the prime Red Wings, because they never... the closest they got was 95, where they lost in 5 games in that year. And then 2009 was also at the end of it. Like, you had the start and the end of it. But you never got one during it because the Hawks were so bad during that time. Number 17, we have the Devils. And this is another one where it's just like, I'm an Islanders guy, so the Devils, they're pretty much undefinable. But, like, they're pretty mid. I got to see them play. I love Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes is a pretty cool dude, I think. And, it's really all I have to say on the Devils. Pretty just medium tier. I don't really have anything to say about them. That's why they're in the mid. So that's kind of why. Actually, I'm going to switch Detroit and Montreal because I can, because I realized I have hatred for Detroit, but not really Montreal. But, so you can pretty much mark right here where the middle ground starts of how much I just don't care. For example, at number 16, Minnesota, I don't care. Kaprizov's amazing. Hope he's safe. I'm a big fan of Zuccarello. Them getting rid of Fiala to the Kings boost the Kings thing up, but Minnesota, I really liked Fiala there. Fleury, of course, Blackhawks legend Marc-Andre Fleury's in Minnesota, so they kind of have to be in my top 16. Probably my favorite goaltender since I was born, and he's still playing, so that's pretty cool. Number 15, you have Columbus, and Columbus's sweep of the Tampa Bay Lightning in 2019 is what made them rise. They probably would have been lower on the end of the spectrum, maybe around 20, 21, just because, or maybe even lower in the medium ground, maybe like 18, because they hadn't done anything. But then they swept Tampa Bay, and they became one of my favorite teams. Obviously, they kind of went down a little because that was just because Tampa was so good, and I wanted to see them die. But seeing Columbus win that series was inspirational, and that's why they made it into my top 16. Number 14, you have Washington. And that's just simply because of Ovechkin. Ovechkin, probably my mom's favorite player, and it's who my brother's named after. So, and I also have one of his sticks that was given to me as a gift. So that's also really cool. Maybe I'll put it on video one time. It's in my garage somewhere. I've used it since I was like 5, and the stick was bigger than me when I was 5, and I use it, and I still use it now. That's how good that stick is. But yeah. Now, number 13, we have Ottawa, and Ottawa probably would have been lower, to be honest, because of everything that was going on. You had the Hoffman-Karlsson issues, but you have guys now they brought in Alex DeBrincat, which boosts them up. I like Brady Tkachuk somewhat, a lot more than Matthew Tkachuk. I like Brady a lot more than Matthew. Drake Batherson, Josh Norris, Anton Forsberg is a former Blackhawk. And they're starting to build a good team there, which is something I really haven't seen from Ottawa. Ottawa, the last time they had a good team, I'd say, was 2007, and that's when they went to the final. And they went to the conference final in 2017, but they really weren't favorites. I want to see Ottawa as a favorite team. They're a small market, and I really just want to see them succeed. At number 12, we have Dallas, and this goes back pretty far, as Dallas was always one of my favorite teams growing up. Their jerseys were a big part of it, and even when they changed jerseys from that the green with the black and like the star outline on the jersey, now to the knockoff Blackhawks jersey, as some people have called them, just the normal Dallas jersey. I still like them. The green looks nice. I don't like Jamie Benn whatsoever, but I like Tiger. I like pretty much everyone else on that team, so it's fine. Now, number 11, we have Seattle. Okay, this is a bigger magnet than I thought. So Seattle, squeeze it in right there. Seattle's a brand new team. Of course, I'm gonna have some love for it. They've done really nothing to me, but the top 10 is pretty much teams I've either really like or teams I've rooted for in the past, and I've always been fans of theirs. So yeah, Seattle number 11, and they'll probably move up the board as time goes on. Number 10, we have Florida. Florida, I've always been a big advocate for because when you see teams that don't make the playoffs very often, you want to see them succeed. Florida was one of those teams growing up. I didn't see Florida make the playoffs until 2012, and they were gone before I even said it. And then 2016, I saw them. I'm like, okay, maybe they'll do something, and nope. And then 2020, nope. 2021, nope. And then 2022, they finally went around. It was nice to see, and then they got swept. But it's still a stepping stone for Florida. They lost a few pieces this offseason, but we'll see if they can bring it back this season when we'll look over it during the power rankings. But yeah, Florida, a team I've just in general have liked. Did not like when they changed their jersey to what they have now, though. Number 9, we have Buffalo. Buffalo is another one of those teams that I can remember the last time I saw Buffalo in a playoff game. It was 2010, and I was also 5 years old then. It's been a very long time since I've seen Buffalo in the playoffs. That's why it's hard to hate them, because you can't hate them when they suck the entire time. So that's kind of why Buffalo is at number 9. Number 8, we have Colorado, and before anyone calls me a bandwagon, sorry about that, I just want to say that I've always been a fan of Colorado because they were bad for a long time as a child. 2010, again, I remember when they were in the playoffs. I remember when Dan Boyle scored the own goal against Evgeny Nabokov, and Colorado won Game 3 and had a 2-1 series lead against San Jose that year. But then I remember in 2014 when they were upset by Minnesota, and all the analytics people were like they should not be winning, and then they didn't, and it was a lifesaver for the analytics people. And then I remember when they beat Calgary, and I was kind of sad because I liked Calgary better. But then they nearly beat San Jose, and I was like, okay, you've got my attention. And they were close, but they just couldn't pull it off that year. But then they started to play other teams. They beat Vegas, which I wasn't happy about, but Colorado, I love Nathan McKinnon. Landeskog, in my opinion, has slightly deteriorated, but that's fine. He kind of gained my liking back in the playoffs. Darcy Kemper was there. I've always liked him as a goaltender. Now he's in Washington, which is why they're probably going to go up. They also have just Rantanen. They have Kadri. We'll see if he stick around. I like Kadri in Colorado. He's not trying to kill people as much as he was in Toronto during the playoffs. Yeah, that's Colorado. Now, number 7. If you told me 10 years ago that Vancouver would be in my top 10 favorite teams, I wouldn't believe you, because this team did a full turnaround. And they basically completed the objective by firing Travis Green and Jim Benning. Vancouver has so many players that I like: Pedersen, Besser, Miller, Podkolzin. They brought in Mikheyev, one of my favorite players from Toronto. They have Demko in net. They brought in Colin Delia, who was a Hawk, so I have a soft spot for him. Then they also have Luke Shen on the back end. I've always liked Luke Shen. Quinn Hughes, Ekman Larson, who's greatly overpaid, but I've always liked him, and because he was one of the good players in Phoenix, Arizona, whichever. And that's kind of why Vancouver's moved up so high, and Bruce Boudreau turned that team around, and I think they're going to make the playoffs next year, or at least have a really good shot at it because of how they performed in the second half of the season. And it's just crazy how your whole opinion can change based on just this quick change of players. If Burroughs and Bieksa and Kessler and those guys were still here, this team might be at 32 instead of Boston. Everything would be moved up 1 because of it. Now, number 6, we have a team I've always liked in Carolina. We're getting to the point now. The top 6 are basically teams I've always liked. Carolina was a team that was not good when I was younger. I remember 2009, they were in the playoffs, and they didn't make it for another 10 years, and I was really unfortunate because I loved Eric Stahl growing up. Sorry about that. I loved Eric Stahl, and then they brought in Jordan Stahl, and they played together for 1 year, and that was really cool. seeing brothers play together was such an interesting thing back then, because it really didn't happen that often, and not as much as it does, and like not like people like didn't really play with their siblings too much. We're seeing Eric and Mark now play in Florida this season, and then it's this upcoming season, and people like didn't really focus on playing close to home and playing with the sibling. That's something that's pretty much come along recently, because I can't really remember. That might be the only one I can actually remember from like my childhood in terms of that. Now, number 5, we have Calgary. Calgary, another team I've always liked. Their jerseys, I remember their jerseys from when I was younger. They had the black flame and the red in the background when they were in the 2015 playoffs or the 2017 playoffs. Not when they had like the jerseys they have now. But I remember Yuri Hudler was a reason I was a big fan. When Johnny Gaudreau was there, my favorite player there. Matthew Tkachuk, not a huge fan of, but Michael Backlund, when Sam Bennett was there, I liked him. Thought of Jonas Hiller for whatever reason, but Mike Smith, when he was there, Mike Smith might be was one of my favorite goaltenders growing up in Phoenix. He played in Calgary, he played in Edmonton, and now he's going to retire, so that's one of my childhood icons retiring. But I remember him in Calgary. Wasn't fantastic, but because he was older. But yeah, but Calgary, just a lot of what made me a fan of these first teams and like childhood teams is because of how the colors of their jerseys. Like that's when Buffalo was up there when I was younger. And I remember looking at like a list I made from like 10 years ago about teams that like I liked. A lot of them were because of the jersey colors, but I understand like the player aspect and all these guys. Shillington's a big. I really like Anderson, Hanifin, Chris Tanev on the back end. I'm a big fan of. So yeah, Calgary, pretty one of my favorite teams, etching out the top 5. At number 4 we have Arizona, and how could I not have Arizona at number 4? They've been bad for a long time. They knocked the Hawks out of the playoffs once, which I've forgiven them for because Shane Doan. But also, Jeremy Roenick played for them, and it's my dad's favorite player. He's on the wall behind us, but you can't see it because of the board. And I want to get Jeremy Roenick. I want to get his number, the 97 number, on the Coyotes jersey that I have, the Phoenix Coyotes jersey. And a big part of what makes them at number 4 is they have the greatest jerseys in the NHL. And yeah. And number 3, also another. I thought of this now. Speaking of Arizona, because they're connected to the Winnipeg Jets, and the Winnipeg Jets. Another reason they're at 25. I loved the Atlanta Thrashers. The Atlanta Thrashers, when they relocated, I was really sad because I did not care, but I did not know what Winnipeg was when I was about 6, 7 years old then. So I really liked the colors that they had, and they had already Bufflin lads, so pull a bunch of the Hawks from the 2010 team. So a lot of my love went with them, and then they went to Winnipeg, and I was sad. So number 3, we have the Islanders, which they've always been my third team. They were my second team when Vegas didn't exist, but the Islanders, just because you kind of have to pick a New York team, and I picked the Islanders growing up. I don't really count Buffalo in there. Buffalo might as well as be part of Canada, and but yeah, the Islanders kind of just. Why the difference? Because if you're an Islanders fan, you can't like the Rangers, and if you're a Rangers fan, you can't like the Islanders. And number 2 and 1. Number 2 is Vegas, and I know people might say bandwagon. No, I have family that live they live near Vegas. They live in areas around Vegas, and so I went there a lot growing up. So I was able to see the area they play in now, and I have a Vegas jersey, and yeah, that's just having family in that area brings you into the fan base essentially. And number 1 is Chicago, my hometown team. The shirt I'm wearing right now, Blackhawks. And although the top 2 teams have some controversy surrounding it as of recently, they're still my favorite 2 teams, and I'm not going to switch that up. And but yeah, these are my favorite teams, and going from my least to most. And leave your thoughts down below. Who is your favorite team? Who is your least favorite team? And what team is just a team you never really cared about growing up, or what was a middle of the pack team, such as for me it was about 14 to 18, those kind of teams. Which, yeah, I mean, I don't really like them nor dislike them. But yeah, so tell me down below. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this video. What if? I promise we'll be back tomorrow. I just wanted to do one more. I just did not feel like doing what if today. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.